here we are up nice and early, getting a first look at the big fishing update coming up for Stormworks. Just kidding everyone, but here we are looking at what I propose Stormworks adds to the game as a fishing update, so come along. So I've given this a lot of thought, and with the recent oil update and mining update and all this stuff, I wanted to think about what the best way to implement a fishing update was and how we could make it fun and fit the rest of the game. So I'm going to provide a fairly detailed account of suggestions that hopefully the developers take into consideration and give us a nice fishing update. So obviously it would be cool to add either fishing grounds on this where there's higher concentrations of fish, or you use a GPS to like sonar or radar type thing, like a fish finder. But obviously that's not what I'm here to talk about. What I'm here to talk about is the actual physics of how you could fish from the game. And the way I'm going to consider it right now is in two forms. One is small time fishermen, like a for fun fishing type thing. I forget what the proper word, it's on the tip of my tongue. But pretty much someone that's doing it for fun. Leisurely fisherman. And then the other one will be a commercial fisherman. So here we are in a nice little pleasure boat, and say you want to put on some reggae music. Some of your friends are tanning up here, and you want to catch some fish. So this is why I've put these things in the back here. Now, everything here is just as a demonstration. Obviously, the developers would have to show this and do this themselves, but the way that a small fisherman would do it, so in a small fishing boat like this, you'd have an object the size of this medium gas tank. So this gas tank is representing a cooler, like a regular kind of cooler where you could store fish in, and I put two of them, just it's fully symmetrical. So a small fisherman would only really need a cooler, and this signal locator represents the fishing rod. So we have a fishing rod and a cooler. Now the reason I put this ammo box here was to show demonstrate something afterwards, so ignore it for now. So what you'll do as a small leisure fisherman is you take your fishing rod and you come up here and you now you let the line sit out there. And if anyone's fished in like Far Cry or anything like that, kind of the same thing. So you let the line sit out there. Obviously they already have the physics. That's a fish right there that I want. Obviously they have the physics for a line. They could just use like a similar thing like the ropes and cables and hoses. So there's a line out there, imagine, and we get a tug or some type of notification saying like fish hooked. So you press a button on this thing, like say the mouse button, and you reel it in. Now they could make it a mini game like how Far Cry does it, where you have to like yank the fish and whatever, but let's just say, I mean, that's for them to decide. But pretty much now you have the fish. So you've yanked it, and boom, fish appears in your inventory. Just like, I guess, not like the ammo box, but like the first aid kit. So you've used your fishing rod, you've yanked up a fish, and now here you have it, you're holding a fish. So you come up to your cooler and you tap whatever, E or something, and now the fish is in the cooler. So now if you hover over the cooler, it says 1 fish out of 20 or 10, whatever. So there's 10 slots in the cooler, you got 1 fish, and you keep going. So you take out your fishing line and you catch more fish. So you fill up your cooler, and now you got to do something with it. So what I propose is the next part of the plan. So the first part was to catch the actual fish, and that's what we just did. So say we fill up our cooler, and all it really takes is 2 objects like I just described. It just needs a cooler object that you add to a creation, and it needs a fishing line that you add to the creation as well, or fishing reel, or fishing pole, whatever the name is that you want to use. But regardless, 2 creations, So now here's where I want to demonstrate the ammo thing. So say you come up to your shore. The cooler object itself will be a removable object just like this ammo box is. So see how we're holding the ammo box? That's what the cooler is. So imagine this whole cooler gets picked up like this, and it leaves like, just like how the empty ammo leaves this thing. So the cooler will leave a slot, like a connector thing. So now I'm holding my fish, and see how the bottom where my left hand is, it says 50 out of 50. That's counting the ammo. It'll literally say 10 out of 10 fish. So exact same thing as this. So here we have a cooler in our hands, and we take it to our truck. So follow along. So we're holding our ammo box, which represents our fish cooler, and we come to our truck, and now where this tank is would actually just be like a slot, like how we could place an empty ammo slot. This is going to be an empty cooler slot. So we have our cooler that's now full of fish. We place it into this empty slot, and now it shows up as a cooler is here with 10 fish. And what we do is we hop into the truck and drive it to like either a fish hatchery or a fish sale place, or a gas station, like how we have in this map. We have these various gas stations. So maybe the gas station itself will buy your fish, or some kind of large-scale fishing operation. So you can drive down to the said spot, or take your boat directly to that spot and sell your cooler worth of fish. And what'll happen is you take your cooler, you walk into the store or the place that's going to buy it, and you plop down the cooler on a scale, and that's pretty much what sells it. You plop it on the scale, your 10 fish is sold, your cooler now has 0 fish, and you end up with money. And then you put your cooler back here, you drive it back to your boat and put your cooler back in your boat and keep going. So this would be so nice. Listen to some reggae music, watch some sunsets, and do some fishing. Now again, like I said, it's for the developers to decide if they want to put fishing grounds where specifically you catch fish, or if they want to put where you could just fish anywhere where there's water. But in essence, the two objects needed for a small scale recreational fisher is that just a fishing rod and the cooler. Now for the industrial fishermen, things get a little different. So here we are with our mocked up fishing boat. Really, this is the RSV Allegory, which is a research vessel, but I've mocked up a little demonstration of the fishing method in the back. So this is used for commercial fishing, and it uses large fuel tanks as my demonstrations. Really, they'd just be large coolers, and they'd be too big to use to pick up by hand. Like how we were holding the ammo earlier. You can't hold these, they're too big. But they're still removable, just like the rods in the new mining or drilling update. You could remove the rods from their cradles. These coolers would be removable from their cradles, and you could pick them up with maggols or whatever to place on a truck. So in this case, they're large coolers, not small ones, not handheld, but similar principle. And the way this is mocked up here is we have a winch up there and a parachute. Now, the physics of the net would be the same as the parachute, just underwater. So in essence, you just lower your net, and we gotta get some speed here. Even a low speed, just for our demonstration. But pretty much, you get a speed, and you drop your net underwater, and you open your net. Oh, we need more speed. So this obviously wouldn't be, I mean, maybe it would be. Maybe if you're going too slow, your net doesn't deploy. There we go. So, there we have it. Our net has deployed, our fishing net, and it's out and it's collecting fish now. It would be underwater, but similar physics. Obviously, they'd have to put a different model on it, but similar enough. And for this one, I don't know if they wouldn't even have to show fish piling into it. it would just be, maybe keep it opaque, like the net, like the parachute, just make it fully opaque. And instead it's collecting fish, and say we're done collecting fish, we've collected enough fish and whatever, we filled up the net, either we get a notification or that, like how we have this is now a released, the net was released, but maybe we have a dial that's connected to that module that tells us that it's full, like it's collected, say, 100 fish or 1,000 fish, whatever. So what we do is then we have our net full of 100 fish. We can now raise it, and we position it. It's obviously stuck. We'll have to use our gantry crane seat. Okay, that should work. So the net now, we raise it up. It's still stuck. Obviously my demonstration concept here is only that. Oh. But what you'll do is you take your net, your fishing net, and you pull it above your coolers, your large coolers, and then you could dump them. So similar how you had oh. Okay, doesn't matter. The demonstration, you get the point, hopefully. But you'd raise your fishing net over top of these coolers and you'd release them all, and it would just like plop all the fish into all these containers, just kind of how you do the mining with the coal, where you put them into the different bins. It'll do the same thing. It'll just fill all these different coolers up with your fish. And now this part is where because you can't pick up the fish cooler and you have your truck here. So same type of concept. It'll have like, just like the ammo thing I was explaining, the ammo box. Once the cooler is out of its cradle, the cradle stays there. So your fishing delivery truck will just be empty, full of cradles for the large cooler to be fit into. And likewise there. So what you can do is you could release your coolers and either lift them up via individual winch or crane into your truck, or for example, you can have a container full of coolers on the ship itself that gets lifted with a container lifter, and you just place a whole container on the back of the truck rather than the individual coolers. And then you take that to the fishing depot, and the game will maybe then, when you drive your truck into a garage bay, maybe it measures how many fish are in your truck. Like it'll just count it right off the bat and say, okay, this truck has 900 fish. And then you get X amount of money for that. And likewise, you could do that for the small time fisherman with his small truck. Same thing, he just drives into a bay and boom, your fish are delivered. And maybe there's a bay for boats as well. Like you drive this whole boat into the bay, and like how we parked in this stall right now, maybe you drive your boat into the stall and it'll just, you go up to a counter, like a machine, and it just says, okay, you have that many fish, boom, sold. And all of a sudden your coolers are empty, just like how your ammo boxes could be empty. So similar type thing. Most of the physics is already in the game, and I don't see a need to go any more complicated than this. You'd have a small fisherman and a large commercial fishing operation, and they wouldn't have to worry about physics with like collecting fish or whatever, like the nets even. They could probably think of something more efficient. Like I said, not even show the model of the fish inside it, just have them plop into this. Obviously for the individual fishermen, they have to have some kind of minor model that you at least hold the fish in your hand and put it into the container. But other than that, that's all I really see necessary for this type of fishing update. And it'll be closely, I mean, I've seen a lot of requests for a fishing update, so I think it would be liked. And then if they want to do what, also I've seen suggestions where people could actually eat, like in the game, you have some kind of health system where you have to feed your person or have food or water or whatever. That would also be a resource where you could kind of put into effect and have some type of food system in the game as well. But anyways, until next time, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope the developers see my suggestion, and if they don't like it, that's okay. At least they know I'm trying my best to make them have the best game ever, which honestly, that's pretty much what I think of Stormworks. So, have a good one, folks, and until next time.